All right. Good mornings, everybody. Oh man, I forgot my coffee. I forgot to warm up my coffee. Life. Okay. Hold on. Give me 1 second. All right. Let's go, everybody. Manual, thank you. What's that? Tater tot. Let's go. Lino, what's up? Carter. As a dad of a young children, all I drink is cold. Oh, then you feel my pain then. Okay, so in your honor, I'm gonna drink cold coffee today. So how about that? But thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. Well, that's what it's like to be a dad. It's a beautiful thing for sure. Your kid's gonna be proud one day. Okay, 1 second. Sorry. I'm trying to eat while I'm like doing this. I don't know why I just couldn't eat first before I come out here. For the life of me, right? But anyway. I mean, it just I feel like I just have to talk about this company before anyone else talk about it before me, right? Okay, let's go. GameStop too strong. Is it? Oh, it's been weak for a while, and then just the strength, just because we've been through so much crap, and then now we're like, now what? Now what? Right? Pop our chests, and then people have been ganging up on us so much, right? For this stock anyway. We felt like we've been through a lot, and now we're stronger than ever because we've been through so many crap, right? So of course, yes, the market's been weak. It's already been kind of forecast already. Nothing new. Trump said he's gonna do it. He's gonna announce on this day and this day. So it's to be expected for people who really understand what the tariffs gonna do and all that stuff. And they already know that the market is due for a correction even before tariffs. Without tariffs, yes, it's going to happen slower, right? Because you have the Federal Reserve who's just propping it up by whatever money policies that they're trying to, implement. And if you don't understand the, Federal Reserve angle, you might not even understand why the market has to do this. Markets needs to go through correction for a healthy environment to be in, because you cannot have asset going up in price while the rest of the world is struggling, right? And so somebody has to buy it at that price, at that level, for it to go up and up and up. But when the main street meaning people are working and doing the best that they can to put food on the table, when they can't even put food on the table, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, Wall Street's gonna suffer. And that's what we're seeing right now. So it's to be expected. If you've been, you know, at least honest with yourself about the stock market, you know, especially SPY. I mean, think about SPY. Hold on. Why am I having GME on here when I'm talking about SPY? Like, makes no damn sense. Like, sometimes my mind just doesn't. Oh my goodness. Just resting. Okay. Happy Saturday. Who cares about Saturday? You have GameStop. Come on. Yeah. So my point is that we've been expecting this for a while, you guys. Okay. And what, 20%? Yes. It seems like, oh my gosh, the world is ending because of Trump. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's zoom out, right? Let's zoom out a little bit. Let's just appreciate this whole, this whole thing. Okay. So this is his last term. Okay, when he got in 2016, right? He won the first election, first term, right there. Boom. Towards the end, this is Corona, right? Towards the end, Biden got in. Okay, so let's see. Hold on. When is Corona? Right. The election here. Right. Oh, goodness. Why didn't I do this ahead of time, you guys? What? I mean, this is the beauty of, live show. The pain of life, being alive. Okay, so there you go. This is inauguration or whatever of Trump, whatever, right? About there, right? Then when he's done, inauguration of Biden. Okay. So people are gonna be like, well, why do you think it's gonna happen again with Trump? Let's look at the DXY and all that stuff. Okay, so let's compare. If you want to measure success, right? Let's go look back in the history of the stock market. Huh? Now, people again, come on, like perspective, huh? The hysterical way of looking at things, the hysterical way, the history of the stock market. It's been up. How much? Okay, so since Biden, let's compare apple to apple over here, okay? If you want to measure, okay, 50%, okay. So do you feel richer or like the Main Street, like people who are working, okay? Do you feel richer or poor during this time? Do you feel like you have more money to spend than anything in the world? Like the history of the country? No, of course not. Like you cannot measure that. But from here to here, there you go. You want to compare apple to orange, right? Then do it. But this is apple to apple. Based on the metric that matters. There you go, numbers. Trump, first term was a lot better. Now, I'm not saying this term, it's remained to be seen. He just got here, right? But, the history says that he wants his stock to go up. But in order to do that, you have to be a little bit more healthy, more realistic. Put money back to the mainstream. Okay? But then people are like, well, tariffs is gonna make things more expensive. Okay? Well, you could say that this is a testing ground for highest deficit in the history of history. Hold on. Why am I like stumbling right It's like, oh, you can't defend this, right? That's why. Um, so I was watching Scott Bessent, and this is important because this is the Treasury. And in the history of being the Democrats, this is what the Democrats should be advocating for. And the fact that now Republican turning into a sound Democrats, I don't know why. Like the flip of the script is just like mind-boggling to me, and that people don't realize who is what, right? There's a lot of hypocritical figures out there in politics. We know that politician lies. But to sound the alarm of how the economy is doing, the market crash is like somehow the SPY is a measurement of the larger economy. No, it's not. The stock market is just a speculation point of view of things where, hey, if the SPY is coming down, it just, hey, overextended. People would just not have the confidence, okay, that most of these companies could really, catch up to the growth, okay, that happened 4 years ago or even 8 years ago. You can't catch up to this growth. And again, both of these instant, okay, Main Street, the people that were actually doing the work, don't get much. I would argue that I was better off during Trump than Biden. Okay? Even back in Obama time too. Even back here. The banks got bailed out over here. Did we? People lost their home. Okay. But instead of blaming the bank, betting on risky stuff, like using depositor money to bet on derivatives and subprime mortgage loans and all of that, they blame on Main Street. Oh, you shouldn't have those money. You shouldn't have those house. But there are a lot of good people who actually lose their home. So that's what people don't realize. Like, sometimes over leveraging on the stock market is very detrimental, okay, to the economy at large, because no economy could survive this priced, okay, appreciation. Okay, you know why the price is appreciated like that? Because the Fed print money like crazy. Don't believe me? Look at the M2 money supply, okay, or the Fed balance sheet. It would make you vomit if you realize the implication of what that means. It means that things gonna get more expensive, okay? That no matter what, no matter how hard you work, no matter how knowledgeable you are, well, unless you're knowledgeable about the right thing, right? And I feel like Ryan Cohen has a magical thinking, magical thinking. The CEO of my heart, like he could do no wrong. Okay, so that's why again Bitcoin has been on the rise, is because it's the opposite of what the inflation is. Hi Ricky, what's up? But so let me go back to this whole panicking. Oh, Trump's bad. To kind of be realistic about it, okay? Market has correction, just like over here. It's not Biden's fault over here. It's just people deleveraging themselves, perhaps, right? And just so happened to be, I think this is a year after Gamestop, right? Can we put that on here? Maybe that would help a little bit here. Okay, there you go. Of course, GME's outperformed the market but it depends on the time frame in which you get in. So if you get in right before the explosion, right there, you're up 5 times the market itself. the S&P 500. So it's going to continue to outperform the market. Now, in contrast, though, if you got in at the tippy top, again, you could play with this time frame over here if you want, but if you just got in at the tippy top, then yes, you depends on where you get in. You are doing worse than the market itself. But again, dollar cost averaging down is always a good strategy with this type of, volatile asset. But again, you have to believe it in a long term, obviously, to outperform any market at all, even the SPY too. So again, perspective matters, right? So don't freak out. I'm thinking, okay, even if it comes over here, the market is still trending up. Okay, don't be hysterical. Oh my God. It's like, I don't think people have any perspective anymore, you guys. Like, I feel like whatever the news tells you, you laugh and cry and you get mad, you get angry at the wrong people, the wrong thing. It's like, can we stay focused and look at the data and not pointing fingers at each other? It never used to be this way, you guys. Like, that's why people were able to get things done. Whoever win, you support each other. Okay, now Trump is your president. He wants to do this, right? Just like when Biden won. When Biden won, we support him through his dementia or whatever. Why don't we do that now? It's like, again, it's illicit, okay? It's manufactured. Nothing is real. The fake outrage that is happening right now, claiming that they know what's good for you. Oh, democracy is in jeopardy. It wasn't before. 8 years when when Bush was in, that were spying on, right? No one pay attention to that. Democracy was in trouble then. Oh my goodness. I tell ya, people are so gullible sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh. Should I even come out and say this? Voice of reason, maybe? Nobody listen? Anyway, let me just get off of my soapbox here. Okay, so my point is, don't freak out. Okay, even if you see a little bit more dip. Okay, perspective matters. So when in doubt, zoom the F out. Why am I so angry this morning? What's happening to me? Oh my goodness. Okay, all right, I'm playing. Let's see. Okay, so yes, be on the lookout for that. I'm looking for this trend line over here. And even if it hits over here and then bounce right back, which I think it's going to do, possibly. But again, if it failed this trend line, what's happening? It's coming down here. Keep it simple, stupid type thing. Okay? So don't be crying. It's okay. This is the best opportunity for people like you and I to buy at the cheap. Fear equals greed, huh? What does Warren Buffett say? Another CEO of my heart too. I bring him up all the time, okay? Well, because he's been through this so many times. Now we know why he was sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars in cash. Okay, and who's following him, his footsteps? Our CEO, Ryan Cohen. Okay? So, the people that are screaming, bloody murder over here, okay? They are the one who over leveraging this market. They don't want the gravy train to stop. And so since they have friends at the Federal Reserve, what do? they asked the Federal Reserve to bail them out. Lender of last resort. And so that's going to get more inflation going. And then who's going to be the blame for it? Trump. Okay. Let's play that game, right? So, there's a battle over here. Okay. You and I, the best thing we could do is to understand the situation and try to at least protect yourself, whether monetary or positioning yourself, for success later on. And so your job is to not believing every single headline that is out there, because headlines, it just is headline. That's it. You know what headline pissed me off this morning? Look at this. Oh, wait, that's not the one. That's not the one, you guys. Sorry. Ugh. Okay. It's always about GameStop, right? Always. Oh my goodness. Okay, so look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This is 17 hours ago. What is that? GameStop Corporation executive sell shares to cover tax. Okay. Oh my God. Insiders selling for taxes purposes. And what is the amount of shares that's being sold? Okay, $100,000. Oh my God. Like, oh my gosh. They're selling? Oh, I wonder how many shares is that? Oh my gosh. Yeah, guys, it's over. I hate to tell you. I don't know. I mean, $22, look at it. You can't even get it this price anymore. It's coming down, you guys, I'm telling you. I mean, more than 4,000 shares being sold? They don't believe in this company, you guys. The hysteria of these people who try to ensue fear in everything that you should be owning, right? I'm telling you, if you don't see through these type of manipulation, you are in the world of hurt, you guys. Like I'm telling you, truth matters, facts matters, and so there's a lot of people out there who would lie to your face just to get what you want or what they want. And it's sickening to me in my, but whatever. I mean, I know the world is complicated, but just protect yourself, okay? Find out the truth, whatever it is. I might be lying to you, so there you go. Whatever. This form might not be true, okay? So find out whether it's true yourself. So again, like, yes, I may be biased, but goodness, look into this. It pains me, right? It's painful. Okay, anyway. And then 18 hours ago, they were like, okay, what was the news? Right, we know that Ryan Cohen bought some shares, right? But look at this headline. Would you know anything about the CEO of the company adding more to the position? Of course not. No. The stock just climbed up again. This is why. Okay, so when you click on it, okay, all right. Only if you click on it, right? But they know that most people are lazy. They're not going to click on the article. They're just going to read the headline, and then going to be like, well, of course it's going to go up because meme people, right? Meme stock people. And this is the reason why they just, again, headlines is important for these people. The way that they frame everything. And then when you read the article, right, you could see a whole bunch of bullcrap too. Right? Same exact. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my goodness. Like, oh, the CEO of Chewy. Okay. And then what happened? What happened? You look at, Bitcoin. It's like as if it's like a terrible thing. Like, um, after weeks of Bitcoin buzz, okay, big Bitcoin buzz around the company, like it has nothing to do with the company's balance sheets doing well, okay? Nothing, right? Oh my God, these people. And then what happened? And then what happened? Bam! The same bullcrap that they're doing. And then the poor innocent people who doesn't know anything about this company trust this type of, analysis or news outlet or whatever. They just go along with it. And again, that's why, I'm so obsessed with finding out the truth about this company. And I'm glad that I am so obsessed with this because, it's the right company to be in this point in time. In my opinion, obviously, I could be wrong. It's been a long year. Okay. So, yeah. So, and decades to come. I'm sure, there's a lot of, again, they will fight till the last day, that they could survive. Remember, Ken Griffin, right? He was famous at saying that he could have went bankrupt if he hadn't fight one day at a time or something like that. So, and yeah, I mean, not to say that that's the only problem, like Market Maker, Citadel, and all that stuff. Of course, there's other more pressing, more much bigger than these two firms here, like the Citadel and Virtu, right? The two market makers that receives these orders and all that stuff, and they don't actually have the share to back it up. Allegedly, there's no proof, so don't be. I could be lying. Okay, I could be lying. Do your own research. Okay, and even though I think there's no risk in this stock company, that doesn't mean there isn't. Okay, so there's risk in anything that you do in life. There's risk not to buy into Bitcoin. There's risk to buy into Bitcoin at the wrong time. Right? It's about timing. If you got in at the right time, obviously you're gonna set yourself up for success later. But just because you got in doesn't mean it has to explode tomorrow either, right? And so have your expectation be in reality as well. Okay? Yes, if it happens Monday, I'm happy. If it doesn't, it's okay. All right. I'm just a bit too early. Always, right? I mean, principle of investing doesn't change, you guys. What changes is the tactic in which you have to, weed yourself in and out of, because these are obstacles for you as an investor to get into the right place. Okay, these are fake outs. It's for sure, there's no reason to be so negative about this company. I know, it's just new to people, very slow, grinding transition over here. Of course, we want it to happen right away, couple years, right? But again, to come out of this environment with the balance sheets that we have, it's amazing already. While everybody is scrambling for cash right now, we are loaded. Okay? While everybody is scrambling for cash to buy Bitcoin right now, we are accumulating Bitcoin. You see what I mean? Okay? So, goodness. Anyway, sorry. Why am I so angry today? All right, let me decompress. Money is flowing out of the US long to yen and okay, Swiss franc. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's just rebalancing of the market, and they've been preparing for this type of thing and they've been kind of waiting on the catalyst. So the catalyst just so happened to be tariffs, right? When they know tariffs is going to be implemented on that day, and he's been hinting it. Trump is telling them, hey, this is the day in which I'm going to do, and kind of give them an excuse to blame it on Trump and all that stuff. And they do it well. They do it very well. And so now they don't have to take any responsibility for the over leveraging, meaning borrowing money, other people's money, and then, creating money out of derivatives and all that stuff to be able to bet on Nvidia, right? To bet on what? The high, the top 7 company that hold the whole market up. Like, people seemingly just forget about that. But of course, the arts of the politics is that they want to distract you, okay, from the real problem so that you don't look into the real problem. And so you blame it on the wrong thing or the wrong person, okay? Well, anyway, let me take a bite of this apple real quick.
National security issue that we're seeing here better than they are, and a lot of people don't care. And President Trump cares, this administration cares, and this is the first step towards realigning that. A lot of our trading partners, including some of our allies, have not been good partners. If tariffs are so bad, why do they have them?
Great question.
Why do they have them, right? Or if the American consumer is going to pay all the tariff, then why do they care about tariffs?
Right.
Because they're going to eat them. So I think that this is the beginning of a process. We're going to reindustrialize, that we have gone to a highly financialized economy. We have stopped making things, especially a lot of things that are relevant for national security. I think one of the few good outcomes from COVID was we had a beta test for what maybe a kinetic war with a large adversary could look like. And it turned out that these highly efficient supply chains were not strategically secure. So that we don't make our own medicines, that we don't make our own semiconductors, that we don't make our own ships anymore. So I think if I were to say, like, was there any good outcome from COVID? It woke the world up to these supply chain problems. So economic security is national security. President Trump and I have talked about that a lot. So this is a national security issue that we're seeing here, but it's also an economic security issue. And it's to, I don't want to say redistribute, but it is to give working Americans real wage gains and enhance their lives. And I've said out on the campaign trail, one of my most frequent mottos was, Wall Street's done great. It can continue doing well, but it's Main Street's turn. It's Main Street's turn. And that's what we saw yesterday. It's Main Street's turn.
It's mind-boggling to me that like the sentiment that the Democrats is spewing out for decades on end, but now it's like, oh my God, this is the idea that that will kill America. How is that strengthening economy? Main Street, meaning like working class, people who are working. Yes, we have some money to invest. I get that. But now, most of our income coming in from working. Okay. It's not a novel idea at all. And so finally you have somebody who are actually trying to do something and not catering, to Wall Street type. And they throw a tantrum. They do. And the same way with CEO, Brian Cohen. Why do you think that these negative press coming for him all the time, for his company, for his type of investment, for his type of strategy? to sit on cash and wait for the opportunity. What's wrong with that? Huh? Well, because he doesn't cater to Wall Street, the financier of the world, the people that have always called the shot. But again, keep in mind, it's not to benefit shareholder per se, common stock shareholder. No, it's to benefit themselves, to set the game, rig the game to favor them always. Okay? While, yes, giving you crumbs, right? Understand the different class of shares that you have on those companies as well. Okay? So, again, most of the people don't really dig deep into the investment that they have. And then they don't understand why I thought when I buy a share, I'm buying a share of the company. Well, some company have a different structure of asset, Like I said, they have senior notes, right? Now we have two different class of stocks for GME for the first time. Okay? So now you have to learn, okay, what is a convertible notes? So those are one class of stock. They could do many other things like preferred shared or whatever, right? So in which case, is it to benefit shareholder in the long term or to benefit the top executive for bonuses and all that stuff? You see what I mean? So not every company is not every company have the fiduciary responsibility for that type to that level, in my opinion. Okay. And not only that, he used his own money to buy into shares rather than rewarded shares himself. So he talked about this too, where when there is a tipping scale to the other end, where there's so many companies out there that are in debt, heavily catering to Wall Street type, the financier, the bankers, and all that stuff, in order to screw over common shareholder, but make sure that they will get their money no matter what, right? So the bank gets to make money. The people that are running the company get to make money. Sometimes common shareholder gets screwed, right? And so again, when you have that type of market so prominent in the world, he saw the opportunity to be the opposite, because that risk of being the opposite, but being the contrarian, is so massive, because eventually people are going to realize, hey, I'm getting screwed over here. Okay? And then when you're the only person, the only company, okay, that's seemingly caring, even though, perception is reality sometimes. I don't know. Again, I don't know Ryan personally to see if he's actually a good person or not. But seemingly, right, there's a vacuum there. And so people are going to flock. People are going to come. People are going to be like, oh, yeah, GameStop is not too bad, right? But again, the problem is you just have to wait. You just have to wait long enough for people to wake up. But sometimes it takes decades for people to wake up, because they've been abused for so long and they have a Stockholm syndrome or something, right? So again, it's coming. I'm just telling you, So the end might be near, but just be aware. Gosh, I don't understand why people are so. Sorry, I'm on edge over here today. Hey, Casper, what's up? What you mean? I've been here almost every day, live streaming. Where are you? Where were you? Why are you not here? I think that's a better question. Flocking to, yeah, of course. All right, so let's listen more. I haven't listened to the whole interview, so you might be here for a while. Just a warning, okay? And I'm just gonna rant. Because I feel like I feel like today I want to rant. Yes. I'm going to channel Moran's rants, There you go.
So, over the course of my life, 55 years, Wall Street really has been the commonly recognized measure of economic health. Like, how's the Dow doing? We've got entire TV channels devoted to tracking its progress, which has mostly been up during the course of my life. So if the average of, the equity averages fall, if the stock market falls, that's seen by a lot of people as like a measure that the economy itself is in decline. Do you think that's a fair measure?
Look, the market goes up and down. Warren Buffett has a saying, in the short run, the market's a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine. And in the long run, it's going to weigh, do we have good policies?
Yes.
And I in my former business, I commented on market structure, market ups and downs a lot. I'm trying not to do that.
Yes.
But for everyone who thinks that these market declines are all based on the president's economic policies, I can tell you that this market decline started with the Chinese AI announcement of DeepSeek.
Right.
So the so-called Mag 7.
That's important, right? We remember that. I hope. Ooh, sorry. Oops. I'm destroying my table over here. Sorry. Anyway. Now, I hope we remember that. DeepSeek, right? Moran's did the segment on that. And the whole problem with that is that it was news weeks before. So it was a late reaction that, people who are, settling trade, it seems. It's not so much that the news was so bad. It's the fact that, suddenly people realize that, someone could do a cheaper, more effective way to, facilitate those AI things. And so people are being overcharged for something, for this piece of technology that we thought it's going to cost trillions of dollars to make, right? And all of a sudden, come to find out, there are people who could do it pennies on a dollar, right? So with that, obviously, there's fighting and all that, proprietary, blah, 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 whatever, copyrights, and you're copying me, copying that, copy and paste and all that stuff, right? Again, that's remain to be seen. Like, if you could figure out how to do it cheaper, obviously with a cheaper chips, right? Those what is it? Those graphics card or whatever that is used to compute using AI to solve problems, or at least just to come up with the solution that we have based on the knowledge that we accumulate in the internet. That's all AI is. It's just an assortment, like a large pool of data that we've accumulated so far in the human history that was in the internet. Okay, that's why it's so huge in a sense, like, oh my God, artificial intelligence. No, it's not intelligent. It's just a culmination of data that we've been accumulating since the internet exists. Okay? And so, yes, the response that you have, for example, if you want to learn to do something, right? Somebody already said that 10 years ago. And so there's no reason to create new ways of telling you, this is how the stock market works. That's why, Warren Buffett way of investing is so effective. It's because it's been working for at least more than 100 years. Okay, for him, his lifetime is not that long, but 60 years. How about that? But again, it's boring. It's boring. Nobody wants to pay attention to it. And you are designed to do that. You're designed to be reactive, not proactive to the thing. And so, who's designed you to be this way? Wall Street, right? Because they want you to be antsy. They want you to be like, it's going to come down this morning, so you better sell now, right? And get it back at a lower price. You get me? I'm telling you. I'm speaking from experience over here. I'm not just saying it just to say it.
Kevin, the tech stocks had been doing very well for about 18 months, led the market, and I think that there was kind of a real dose of reality in what was going on in AI. And I think U.S. is going to remain the leader in AI, but the AI related stocks started coming down. So like if I were to analyze in my old hat, and this is the only time I'm going to talk about it, my old hat, what's happening with the market, I'd say it's more a Mag 7 problem and not a MAGA problem.
Right. So it's a deeper, so actually the markets are, you're saying in this specific case with tech stocks.
Mag 7 just means, just for in case somebody doesn't know, I know someone over here that I know personally that might not know. Mag 7 just means top 7 companies on the SPY.
Are taking like a real measure of the value of companies relative to foreign companies.
Well, it's that. But if we look, the equal weighted S&P, even after today's moves, down 4% in the year. Or, in a long-term chart, you wouldn't even notice that.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing that we can do, that I can do as the Treasury Secretary, that President Trump wants to do, is put in sound fundamentals for the underlying economy. And if the underlying economy is good, if taxes are stable, if businesses have predictability, if we have cheap and plentiful energy, if we deregulate, if we treat our workforce well, then we're going to have a great stock market.
Fair. The president suggested in describing his plan for tariffs, he said, look, you could conceivably fund a lot of government with tariffs. And that would suggest that taxpayers fund less of the burden. And so do you expect that these will be accompanied by a congressionally approved tax cut for the middle class?
Tucker, I just want to go back for a moment too, that one of the things that the tariffs are doing is we are pushing back against other economic systems. So the Chinese have a very different economic system. They have low cost, some would call it literally slave labor. They subsidize industry with subsidized loans. They have a lot of non-tariff barriers. Your show can't be shown there.
Yes.
So we're pushing back against that. And with the tariff income, it can be substantial. And if we think like a classical model of tariff income would say, if there's a 10% tariff, then the currency would appreciate about 40% of that. So 4% of it, then the producer in the other country would eat about 4%. And then the U.S. consumer might have a one-time price adjustment of 2%. So, in a 10% tariff, maybe the consumer pays 2% of it. We saw there's a study out recently from a group at MIT that shows that with President Trump's first China tariffs, which were approximately 20%, the price level went up 0.7. So to answer your question, if we could put on a 20% tariff and have the foreigners pay that and use that money to bring down our government deficit and keep taxes low here, that's a very unique formula that hasn't been tried in this country for a long time.
And do you think, but it would require congressional participation to get there, to move tax rates, of course, are set by the Congress.
Well, what we're going to have now, we are in this very odd, what I would call betwixt and between the tariff income and what DOGE is doing in terms of the cutting government expenses. So CBO scoring, and for 35 years, I was on the other side of the wall, and I would always, CBO says this. And I didn't really realize that kind of CBO scoring is a lot like Enron accounting, that it's not real. And when you...
Important point there, right? This is, again, there's seemingly a skewed way of evaluating companies, okay? And they have these scoreboards that measuring, things that really doesn't matter to the company in and of itself, that would, if you were to measure a real rate of return, it wouldn't stand in water, right? Over the years, you actually return less. Because again, they load on debt, right? They think that the debt is going to be the answer to everything. And that they could outgrow outgrow the debt. eventually at some point in time. But the economy doesn't work that way, right? Things coming up, things going down, things, doesn't really steadily, like, oh, just as long as you borrow, from the asset that you have, you could continue to grow, in that sense. And so there's a skewed way of perception in, just like he's saying, like, oh, he's realizing certain measurement, certain metric that these people are using when he was on the other side, because he used to be an investment banker, okay, from Goldman Sachs, okay? And so he would be trained, top, you could say that he's very knowledgeable, but they're training to be bad, right? Using bad data, using bad metric. And so the most common sense way of investing, like Warren Buffett, is not elevated, right? If Warren Buffett's style of investing is being elevated, people would grow more wealth than we are today. But because, again, it's a skewed way of looking at the company in of itself, and you're trained to do that. You're training the top expert to do the worst to the wealth of your portfolio over time. And only a handful of people who knows this get to benefit, rather than, typically, if you go back, like, I don't know, 50 years, right? I don't know, I'm just making up times over here, okay? Just stay with me. I promise I have a point. If you go back to 50 years ago, or even like hundreds of years ago, when capitalism was thought to be this great system to create wealth for regular people, right? It used to be, if you could figure out what the general public need for their day-to-day lives, right? Doesn't matter whether you're poor or whatever, if you could figure out, to sell items to people that they need, just like a shovel, for example, right? For their, gold rush type of thing, right? You could really become, rich by selling people goods and services. And that's the basic of it. And then you could also create a company that, hey, if from the time of needs, you might need the money in order to grow your company. That's why the publicly stock exchange and all that stuff was created, in order for the company to get money from the public in order to benefit the stakeholder of the company. And it's been like that for quite some time. And then something happened where it all becomes financial, gymnastic over here to create schemes in order to grow faster and faster and faster at the expense of shareholder. But faster for who in relation? So who got rich the most, right? CEOs, right? Shareholder who got in early. But the people that come in later on, they got screwed because they thought they bought in, they bought in at a good price, because stocks always goes up, right? If you look at the SPY, that's the most traded, index out there, because most people, most financial advisor would advocate to just buy SPY no matter what. Over time, you're going to perform, right? And they're not wrong. They're right in saying that, but they don't really tells you that if you account for inflation, the actual real return is not anything. You're actually staying flat. But because it's only 2-3%, a year, right? You don't feel it as much. You will feel it in 30 years rather than, 5 years from now. So again, people don't realize that at all. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking this, maybe. I don't know. I looked at your YouTube some months ago, and you had not been making video for quite a while. Oh, I'm always on live, Casper, so maybe that's a reason. Check on my live tab. My video don't get uploaded unless I have some short clips or whatever, but I typically don't post on video. I think that's the reason why. I've been live for quite some time, close to every day. Very interesting information you were showing today. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. At least somebody appreciate it. I mean, I feel like I'm pretty boring sometimes, but it's okay. Yeah, personality shine through. Who knows? Yeah, there might be a lot of people who like boring people. Right? There's always somebody for someone. Okay. No, but anyway, I appreciate that. But yeah, check the live. Don't check the video tab. All right, so let's see. Okay, so my point is, don't freak out. Listen to these people that are actually affect the economy, right? And he's telling you, he's being transparent per se. And if you know how to, hedge or take advantage of that, you can. There's a lot of people who bought puts on the SPY and doing pretty well. But know when you bought put, again, risk, right? So managing it well, and don't freak out if you hold asset. All you have to do is just buy more of it. Well, hopefully you know what you hold, right? So the typical way of investing is still stand where, okay, you need to find value. Okay, what value is that? You might be able to find value right now in Meta or Nike or whatever company right now. The point is, stocks will be on discount. Okay. And the dollar is going to continue to go down in purchasing power, meaning that your money is going to be cheaper. Okay. When your dollar is cheaper, what happened eventually? Right now, it may not feel it, okay? But equity will continue to go higher. Temporarily, people are freaking out, okay? They're just repositioning themselves. And meanwhile, because it works out for them so much, they go to the press and say, sell now or you're never going to get your money back. Okay? Some people could sell right now and then be okay. Okay? Because yes, there might be a couple more percentage down. Let's see if you see the SPY. So this is the DXY. It just measures, the strength of a dollar. The lower, the better for equity, for asset. Okay. So you might see, why do I have this? Well, this is his first term. Okay. Trump's first term. The minute he got in, he want the dollar to go down in value. Okay. And this is the plan. Perhaps you're going to have one more year of this, but it seems like he wants it now, accelerating. Okay. So if you know that, what do? You would save cash. Okay. And who has cash right now? GME. Huh? Warren Buffett. Huh? Who's laughing now? Oh, goodness. I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes people don't do critical thinking and they just reacting to small little tiny thing. But I don't blame them, because they trust news sources. They trust the party that they are, getting into. And because you hate Trump so much, you feel the need to be like, oh, this guy is ruining something. But I assure you, it's been planned already. Okay. It's in the work and the plan works. Like right now, apparently, Vietnam already lowered the tariffs, cutting tariffs to zero. Okay, so how tariffs work is that it's not to benefit the little people, you guys. Tariffs goes to the government, and so think about it. Okay, if Vietnam has so much factory, this is Nike, and this is why Nike went up yesterday. Okay. Nike has like 450,000 worker, okay, and have over 130 factory over in Vietnam making shoes for $1 a day. Yeah, literally. Okay. And meanwhile, Nike get to sell that sneaker over here. How much do you think you pay for? Okay. Now that $1 a day goes to worker, right? But whatever the profit goes to who? The local government. Okay, Vietnam. So technically, I know. That's why the whole world is not happy right now, because their gravy's train is gone. But keep in mind, it's not to benefit the people of Vietnam. I'm from Cambodia, so I know. People over there are not living large. Okay, even though they have factories over there, even though they have a job that yes could support them, but they're not. They're subjected to a lot of harsh condition of working. Factories over there is not built to the standard that it is here. And Americans used to care about stuff like that, especially Democrats. But for some reason, it's flipped. It's flipped. So not sure, you guys. Like again, I'm not saying everything that Trump's do is good either. There's things I disagree with him. But on this economic thing, I think stock has to come down, at least. And for selfish reason too, I feel, because I want cheaper company. I want to be able to buy company at the cheap. Carter. Oh, really? What? Be more better than CNN. Thank you, because I can. I know, right? I should have like thousands of subscribers already. Why? I wonder why. Oh, you've been to Nam? What's up? How did you feel? I think, what year did you go? It depends on what year you go, though. I feel like now we've become more westernized than anything. Kind of hate that, though. I have not been back for 7 years or so. I'm due for one for sure. Eventually, just never felt like have time to take off work and all that stuff. I'm waiting on GME to blow up so I could just quit. But yeah, that's a little further down than I thought. 2010, okay. Back then, we still not as developed as it is today. There's a lot of high riser now. Of course, a lot of Chinese, money pouring in. Same developer that probably like Evergrande and all that stuff, but none of the local has the money to buy it, you guys. I'm telling you, unless most of the house that is being bought or apartments or whatever are people like me who was working in the U.S. or any other country outside would have the money to buy, to buy in there. Local people usually, their income doesn't support that at all. But what I like about real estate over there is that, once you pay what you owed, the mortgage or whatever, the price of the house, you don't have to pay property taxes and all that stuff. So technically, if you own a house, you're all set. That's all you need. Food is pretty cheap, inexpensive to survive. Of course, now I think they peg the local currency $2. So whatever inflate, that's pretty smart actually, because inflation in Cambodia kind of like go alongside with the U.S. inflation. So, and another thing too, they also spend dollars instead of local currency, because local people become smarter. They would notice that the local currency usually inflate a little bit higher than the U.S. And so, but they don't discourage, people not to use dollar or anything. So pretty cool. I mean, if I want to go back, retire and all that stuff, I could, I guess. Just again, cost less to retire in Cambodia than here, obviously. But, local political issue still stand there. Certain things I disagree with. So I'm like, do I even want to be in that environment? But honestly, if you have money, you could be anywhere. Like, money talks, I guess. Eating healthy is boring. Gym is boring. Most beneficial things are boring, but they are needed. Oh, Casper. Yep, for sure. Although I'm not very good at healthy eating though, so I want to be better. Gym, terrible. Not doing well. I know. I need to be more active for sure. Yeah. But I'm exercising in the mind, right? Just stock market and stuff like that. Really, like if I don't love something, I don't do it. Like that's my problem. I need to learn to love gym life. I think I need to find to love it in order for me to be like, okay, all right, yeah, I could roll with this forever. I'm so happy you are boring. Oh, thank you. Okay, all right. Let's go. I agree with your statement. I love being the culture. The killing field was such a heavy. Oh, of course. Yeah, I mean, my family don't talk about it, like growing up and aftermath. I wasn't there, obviously, so I'm a bit younger. But hey, Amber, what's up? It's for sure have a implication of people getting slaughtered for no apparent reason whatsoever. I think again, it's there's a connection between the U.S. too, where remember Nixon, who's the one who bombed Cambodia. So from then on, obviously the war just devastating the whole area, and with that, it creates a vacuum in the local economy, and so it makes it easier for these militia group to scoop in to be the authority. And at the time, we didn't know anything. I'm sure even my whole family got, my mom, her brother got taken away, and yeah, a lot of devastation. My grandmother got taken away, and yeah, we just don't know what happened to her. We just assume that, because of the grueling condition that they were put on. Oh, it's like, but anyway, I would love to know that history from my mom's perspective, but it's very difficult for me to bring it up, and I don't want her to go through that pain, honestly, to describe everything. And even though I want to know everything, it would be a good piece of history to be like, there's a certain things you go through in life and you pass it on. And yeah. And hopefully no one has to go through all that ever, And even growing up in that environment, in the aftermath, it's not even like the war wasn't going on, but I could still see the fear of people. Any type of, I remember growing up, right? I was 5 or very young. And I just remember fearing something, and my mom was like closing the door and all that stuff frantically. So every single noise, right? Every single noise that she hear, we would be just running towards the house and then close the door. So again, just one example of me kind of like, oh man, looking back at it now. It's like, war. No, nobody wants that. And I wouldn't wish that upon anyone, honestly. Yeah. Anyway, doom and gloom. Sorry. What an interesting show today. Goodness. So deep and... All right, let's get back. Switch to. Cut to. A bit therapeutic too. Goodness. All right. Okay. Interesting theory I made myself. Okay. In the Roaring Kitty Return video 10 months ago, he is pretending to be in a coma for a long time. Then, at the, 3:12 mark, he muted the volume. Okay. I'm listening. I'm following. I was in a monsoon and my taxi was wiped in Cambodia. Oh yeah, I could see that happening. Ay. Yeah. Okay, so back to Roaring Kitty. Volume muted in this time is around March. Okay. Interesting. Then it started to be intense in the videos of him. Okay. Hey, I don't know if he's actually just doing that, going back to the thing to, I don't know. Again, it's too intricate for me to even follow. I know there's a lot of people just have their way of interpreting something that isn't there, or just some pattern that they see in his way of investing or telling us what's going on. But for me, those are just for fun. He's for sure trolling, because he feels like I feel like he feels that he's been figuring out what the algorithm is, right? And maybe he's testing it out too to see whether every post that he posts, the algorithm knows what to do, and perhaps he's trying to trick the algorithm to do something unexpected, right? So yeah, I think he's aware. He's aware of the whole manipulation based on algorithm, based on his tweets and whatnot. So it's more like that, and I don't think he's trying to tell us or anything. Yes, if you could figure out, great, but to him, I think it's his way of getting returns that is unheard of, right? And so, and it just so happened to be in this one stock for whatever reason, right? We tend, well, I think that I know the reason, but of course that I can't prove that, so we can't take that to the bank, right? So I stay typically more in a realm of reality, but yes, hope for the best type thing, right? yes, in actuality, the company's doing well, right? A lot of people are gonna flock in because they see the vacuum there. They see what Ryan Cohen has been building for the last 3 years, and perhaps they're impressed that he was able to turn this company around in such a short period of time, even in the face of this economic calamity that people are experiencing. So, sometimes the truth is that simple, you guys. Like, you don't need all that hype to, just like I said, like those are just frosting on the cake. The cake has already been baked, and and it's still being, uh, you know, I guess, what's the term for bakers that they proof or something? They just need to be set for a couple of, hours in order for the cake to rest. There you go. The cake just need to be rest, because you can't eat the cake straight up of the oven. Okay, you need it to rest for a while and let it, kind of air out, and then you could put the frosting on it. So we're at the stage in which the cake has already been baked. Okay, and now it's just straight up from the oven, put on the table. There you go. And that's the best stage, right? But because there's potential of making the cake look perfect. However, based on your creativity over here, okay? You could make a airplane out of it. You could make a rocket, out of it. Whatever. Lots of stuff. But I appreciate that. That's theory, Casper. I mean, I'm not knocking it. I'm sure you find something in that video. Yeah, but again, I would caution people to not bet on any dates whatsoever. But if you're confident that that's what he's communicating, go for it, right? But leave rooms for mistakes as well. What if you're wrong, type thing. So how do you mitigate that risk? Just buy shares, and wait. Don't do call options if you couldn't handle the risk, right? So, and worse, borrow money to buy into calls, hoping that, you're going to hit $40 billion in 2 days. American takes everything for granted. It's such a sad world, and Western has been. But yeah, I think that with that, honestly, I just feel like sometimes because of how we are kind of programmed from whatever culture, TV show, or young kids thinking that they're cool for listen to whatever, right, celebrity, and typically shows, TV shows, movies, and all that stuff really kind of give a skewed view as well on what it means to be human, what it means to be a family, what it means to be cultured, right? But again, everything is skewed. I feel like younger people have been indoctrinated to be a certain way. Even with the investment style, right? And only the people that could figure out the game will win at the end. And so with the digital world, instant gratification, it's tough to train people to do to do it differently when you're so used to, and it's a dopamine hit for sure, in respect of like investing in general, but in life in general as well. Again, just my perspective here. I feel like nobody really worked just for the love of it anymore. It's more so, how much money can I make in this short period of time, right? And you see that even with jobs and job choices and all that stuff. Trades like plumber and all that stuff. Like, it takes quite some skill to learn and experience and apprenticeship or whatever. But when you are a plumber, you could really earn so much respect because of the work that you do, rather than the money that you might get from it, right? But anyway, why am I going on to that? The point is that, the younger people, like, I feel like they're more mature now than they used to, because they realize, hey, the game is rigged. And so you have to be more mature. I think I'm part of that, are more spoiled a little bit, but of course, that's just my opinion. I don't know, millennial, the whole world here, so I can't say that. But a lot of millennials kind of was dealt a terrible economy. And so people who could figure out, like Ryan Cohen, for example, I think he really take advantage of that. But again, he didn't even go to college, right? So he didn't really get indoctrinated in that sense. He's more an entrepreneur type of bug. But since he have his teaching from his father, who's all about hard work, there you go. Yeah, he got influenced by the right person. So, yep. But it also takes the right person to implement it as well in their own life. So, but eventually they will wake up and see where the whole reality is, and hopefully they choose to do the right thing. Okay, that's why I believe we will be back in April. Okay, cool. I know it's a 10-foot hat. He's a meme master. Okay. Okay, Casper, he's a meme master. Not the you never know. Maybe he is a charm timer. I remember June. Colombian government and agreed to ceasefire if final full and court was agreed to. Okay. Not quite sure. Not aware. Don't know about this time frame here because I can. Too deep for me. Too deep. Okay. Michael. All right. People are talking to each other. All right. People. Okay. Are you still entertained or are you asleep? I don't know. Who's still here? But anyway, so get back to the stock market. I got deviated a little bit here. Now, let's listen to Scott over here. I feel like we should learn about this guy as much as we can. Okay, now the SEC chairman, we just got confirmed. That's also another character that we need to kind of study a little bit here. Why? Well, because they affect markets. Okay, so you need to know that.
You actually look at the real story.
But you assumed it was on the outside?
Sure. Well, they're experts.
It's a congressional budget office.
It's a congressional budget office. And they're well-intentioned people. They just have the nonsensical rules. Think about this. When all the scoring's done over a 10-year window.
Yes. Okay?
So they just assume 1.7 or 1.8% economic growth over the 10 years. And that never moves. Whether you raise taxes or cut taxes, doesn't move. So that's what, during the campaign, when Vice President Harris was announcing all these big tax increases she wanted to do and things like that, that the CBO was scoring her very well. And President Trump wants to make the 2017 tax cuts permanent. That was kind of a blowout number because obviously growth's going to go up a lot when you cut taxes. So that was a long way of saying we will not get credit for the tariffs in any bill because Congress is not going to legislate it. President's doing it with executive authority, but the money will be coming in. We've already taken in several $100 million on the China tariffs from his first term. We take in about $35 billion a year just on the old tariffs, not on the new ones. So in the CBO window, that's about $350 billion, which pays for a lot of the president's promises on no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, making interest deductibility on autos made in the U.S. And think what the president's doing here. He is backing into an affordability solution for the bottom 50% of wage earners, because they're the ones who will benefit from all four of those programs.
So looking at, say, a year from now, so beginning of next April, do you have any sense of how much the U.S. government anticipates bringing in from the tariffs announced yesterday?
It's going to be a moving target,
For sure.
But could it be anywhere from $300 billion to $600 billion a year? Sure.
Okay, so that's meaningful revenue.
Very meaningful. But what will happen with tariffs over time, the ultimate goal of the tariffs, and the president says it all the time, bring your factory here. That's the best solution toward getting away from a tariff wall. So move your factory from China, from Mexico, from Vietnam, bring it here. So what will happen over time, we'll have substantial tariff income in the beginning. Manufacturers will build their factory here. The tariffs will drop, but the revenue from the factories, from income taxes, from all the new jobs will go up. So we'll be taking it in domestically as the tariffs drop. And why are the tariffs dropping? Because we're making it here and our trade deficit's dropping.
So you've obviously thought this through. You think that the United States has the necessary labor force for this transition?
I think we do. I think with AI, with automation, with so many of these factories are going to be new. They're going to be smart factories that I think we've got all the labor force we need. And what we are doing on the other side, one of the reasons, other than my support for President Trump, that I came out from behind my desk, and I had a pretty good life, and I wanted to come out and really tell people that I was worried about an impending financial calamity, given the high levels of government spending that were leading to high levels of government debt. So what we are doing, on one side, the president is reordering trade. On the other side, we are shedding excess labor in the federal government and bringing down federal borrowings. And then on the other side, that will give us the labor that we need for the new manufacturing. And we're going to re-lever the private sector. So the private sector, in essence, has been in recession during the Biden years. And this is an opportunity to right-size the federal government and unleash the private sector again, because it's been hemmed down by excessive regulation and it's been crowded out by the government.
Here's a fact of life you may not learn until you're older, but then you have AI, and the projections there are massive labor market disruption, fewer people needed. You alluded to that a minute ago. Then you have the tariffs, and we can guess their effect, but we don't really know because we've never done it. And then you have the reaction from the rest of the world to those tariffs. There's so many huge factors that are effectively unknown, that are black boxes, really. Do you ever think wow, it's kind of hard to know what's going to happen?
Look, it is. And I always think that you can never be 100% sure, but you can stay within sight of guardrails and keep moving forward. I can't remember. One of the Sunday morning shows I was on a couple of weeks ago, the commentator asked me, she said, "Can you guarantee me there won't be a recession?" And I said, "I can't guarantee you anything. There's nothing that tells me there should be one." So I believe that this is going to work, just like President Reagan believed that supply side economics was going to work. But what I do know, that the old system wasn't working.
I think that's right.
And if you look at a system that's not working, you got to be brave to change it. So what wasn't working? Would it have been really fun for me to come in and just keep issuing a lot of debt? And it's almost like a bodybuilder is taking steroids. Outside looks great. You're muscular. Inside, you're killing your vital organs. Yeah. That's what was going on here. But it would have been easy to keep pumping up the economy, borrowing a lot of money, creating a lot of government jobs. There was no controversy when we're doing all that. But you were going to end up in a calamity. If you go back and look, you look at the financial crisis in 07, 08, economy looked great right up until then. You go back and you look at the end of the dot-com bubble and then the whole credit problem, the fraud at WorldCom, Enron, some other companies, economy looked great until it didn't. And I think one of the things that we won't get credit for, but that this administration will have done, is avoiding a financial calamity. Think about it, that they've done an analysis that one of the reasons 9/11 happened, because the airlines didn't want to pay for reinforced doors.
Yes.
They kept pushing back. FAA didn't push hard enough. And now, we've got the reinforced doors. So I look at it, we're putting on the reinforced doors before the crash.
What's the scramble, the lobbying scramble by foreign governments going to be like over the next 3 months? Because the president said yesterday, we're putting a universal tariff, one standard, but then of course each country's adjusted according to a lot of different factors, trade deficit, currency manipulation, regulation, and then tariffs. But, this is all, as you said, a moving picture. It's a developing situation. So like, if pick a country, Vietnam, China, I'm going to really try to bring pressure to bear on this administration to adjust those numbers. Like, what's that going to be like?
It's going to be the president's decision. And I think his view is this has been going on for a long time for friends and foes. And we're going to see where this plays out. I think what's going to be more important than the discussion with countries is the discussion with companies. So what do companies want to do? As President Trump said yesterday, best way to get around the tariffs, build your factory here.
Yeah.
And what can we do here at Treasury to help that? We're pushing to get the tax bill done so we can guarantee the low taxes, full depreciation within the first year. We're working with Secretaries Burgum and Wright on energy security, and we're working on getting the regulations down. The president, I don't know whether he talked about it yesterday or the day before, Taiwan Semi, largest semiconductor manufacturer in the world, Lee Zeldin, the EPA commissioner, is working to push through all the permits that they need because we've just gone into this regulatory morass where it takes so long to get things done in this country. So I think what will be more interesting are the individual company announcements more than the country announcements.
You want to sell to Americans, you got to make it in America.
Sure. Or pay the tariff.
So how is China?
Anyway, sorry. I was, again, like very enthralled. You guys could watch the rest of the interview. It's very informative. I'm going to continue here. But let me see. Let me switch gear real quick. Right, Kitty is a legend, but the short still double down. They look down on Kitty. Not sure about that. Again, every short's gonna be long one day. So okay, let them short. They just have more money now to play around with. So who cares? It's like a dumb stormtrooper effect type thing. It's like, okay, well, perhaps they still think that we are gonna go under, right? We are not growing as quickly as it should. And then they just underestimate the growth that we're gonna be able to generate in the future. Like I said, they only have a certain metric to measure us by, right? So maybe their ruler is not a good ruler to be measuring from. Like, it has a different, it's not, I guess, standard, okay? It doesn't use the right metric, the right number, again, intended to only look into how much can you leverage on top of your asset, right? And so that's the skew way of looking at growth. And every investment bankers out there, they are taught to be that way. Like I said, that's why, again, that's the vacuum that Ryan Cohen is trying to fill, which is to do the opposite, right? To do the opposite of debt. And we're only going to grow based on the dollar amount that we brought in. So currently, if you look at the balance sheets, we're technically not bringing in, just to be realistic, okay? We're technically close, right? We're not like completely out of the woodwork over here, but yeah, we're in a much better position than we were before. Okay, with this amount of cash that we have, again, like, why am I keep saying to you guys like cash is important? Well, because it is. Right now it is, right? It's the time in which you're living in right now. Of course, cash is king. But within the operational side, right? Remember, with this negative, right? Like, it's trailing 12, okay? Because this is the pain point that they always mention. It's like, oh, we're in trouble because operationally we're still losing money. Okay. But the way that I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, so let's say you have a business that you sell like $1 million of goods and services, but you come out of it at the end losing $100. Okay, is it worth closing down your business? Okay. Is it worth closing down your business on that amount of loss? Or would it be better to cut down expenses just a little bit more in order to not lose $100 next year? Right? So that's what Ryan Cohen is doing. It's to balance that expenses. But in the meanwhile, the reason why he raised money is because, well, let's take advantage of people wanting the stock. So that's what publicly traded company has the advantage of. If you are operating in a business of a privately owned, unless you have extra cash to keep operating the business, you might be forced to shut down because you cannot lose $100 a year, right? Because you have to pay your employee, you have to pay yourself, right? Depends, right? Some people do pay themselves if they operate in a store or something like that. So it's based on the, does it make sense to close down the business? Of course, these people would love GME to just shut down, right? And of course, they would bring that up in order to make it sound like we're losing so much more than it actually is. Even though, yes, last quarter we were able to bring in positive quarter by quarter. But if you were to take an account of 4 consecutive quarters in a row, we're still coming down by $17 million. Pain point for sure. But again, guys, we're in a terrible economy right now. Okay, so they won't point that out for sure. But they'd rather you buy some company that is grossly overpriced. Because AI, because, technology, because, they might be using your money in a better way. Like, that's BS. That's BS. Because their metric is, they have more debt, they have more growth, right? On the front end. But on the tail end, in 10, 15 years, that interest will accrue so much more to the point where you can't even get your head up, off the level. That's what happened with AMC. Okay. Decades of just debt and no real growth whatsoever. And so, yeah, I'm telling you, boring stuff is boring stuff for a reason, because it is sustainable. It is growing slowly until it's not, right? You see a lot of stocks out there, like Tesla, for example, like Amazon, for example. Those company become behemoth that it is today for a reason, because for decades they've been slowly building things so that they could, succeed later on when the economy recovers. And make no mistake about it, you guys, we're gonna go up from here. So short term, yeah, you're gonna see a lot of waves, okay, a lot of shock. So I just see this gentleman right here.
The market is in the absolute pooper today, but it looks like there's one stock that's trading in the inverse. The Dow is down 2,200 points and the S&P 500 has lost 10% of its value in just 2 days. Meanwhile, GameStop is up almost 10%. And what's going on here, the story of GameStop is probably one of the most interesting stories that you think you know, but most people have no idea what the truth is. So let's roll the tape, shall we?
All right, here's the story that we've been told about GameStop. a struggling video game retailer that has become the target of a massive short-selling campaign by major Wall Street hedge funds. Short selling, by the way, is a common Wall Street practice by which they bet that a stock will go to zero, making billions for themselves as companies implode and workers lose their jobs. Think Toys R Us, Sears, Blockbuster, just to name a few. But this time around, a group of retail investors on Reddit, led by Keith Gill, aka Roaring Kitty, aka Deep Value, uncovered the huge short interest in GameStop, and believing the stock to be undervalued, they started buying up shares en masse, driving up the price and quote-unquote squeezing the hedge funds, even causing one notable fund, Melvin Capital, to go bankrupt. To stop the bleeding, big Wall Street investment firms allegedly colluded to do shady things like disabling the buy button on trading apps like Robinhood to prevent retail traders from buying up more shares. But in the end, things were all good. We were told that David stuck it to Goliath, the little guys won, the hedge funds learned their lesson, covered their shorts, and the GameStop saga was all over. Now that's the story they want us to know. That's the story that mainstream media told us. That's the story the movie Dumb Money told us. But you think the mainstream media in Hollywood are about to tell us the real story? I don't know. My guess is nah.
Good to finally sit down in one room.
This is a long time coming, man.
First off, I'm not giving anyone financial advice. Don't fucking trust me. I'm an idiot. And I'm not a good investor in the first place. I'm just a dude.
So what's the biggest misconception of GameStop that people get wrong?
Maybe the biggest one is that it happened in 2021, that it was a short squeeze that happened and it ended.
According to many in the GameStop community, the supposed short squeeze covered by the mainstream media and depicted in the movie Dumb Money never actually happened. In a report published by the SEC in October of 2021, their data showed that most of the buying activity did not originate from traders with large short positions. Quote, whether driven by a desire to squeeze short sellers and thus to profit from the resultant rise in price, or by belief in the fundamentals of GameStop, it was positive sentiment, not the buying to cover, that sustained the weeks-long price appreciation of GameStop stock. Interesting that this little tidbit did not make its way onto CNBC or the movie Dumb Money.
I don't know if the people behind it intended for it to be this way, but the way that movie came off was essentially like, oh, here's a cute story of like a thing that happened, and like it painted as though nothing came of it. It painted as though it kind of ended. It didn't say anything about all the research that we learned, any of the like critical things about like the market manipulation, the biggest financial crimes of our lifetimes.
On February 9th, 2021, 2 weeks after the stock price first exploded, FINRA, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, posted a short interest of 226% for GameStop, meaning that the stock had been shorted more than twice the total number of shares in existence, evidence that the shorts had not closed their positions. However, over the next few weeks, that number would drop drastically with no explanation, without the correlated increase in price that one would expect in a short squeeze, and today, short interest for GameStop still sits at approximately 10%, according to data published by Yahoo Finance. How that happened, nobody knows for sure. Kind of a mystery, but many in the GameStop community says the evidence points to
someone committed a crime.
Allegedly.
Well, we know for sure that they didn't close. And we know now that they have all these complex ways that they can hide those short positions for long periods of time. And we are seeing evidence that they're kind of trapped. Because like if you let the price go down too much, everyone was still buying. And the more we buy, the more trapped they are. And if they let the price go too high, then their margin gets more and more underwater, and pretty soon they get a margin call, and then they get blown up. And so they can't do anything as long as we don't sell.
The MOAS theory, the mother of all short squeezes, as presented by folks in the GameStop community, suggests that GameStop stock could experience an unprecedented surge due to the extreme level of short interest, coupled with the speculation that hedge funds have been hiding their short positions through various methods, such as using dark pools and obscure financial instruments, which have masked the true extent of their shorting. And as retail investors continue to hold and buy more shares, the demand for these shares only increases, creating a situation where short sellers must buy back shares at higher and higher prices to cover their positions. This, they say, could lead to a potential explosive rise in the stock price, resulting in astronomical gains for those holding the stock, orders of magnitude greater than what we witnessed in 2021, while causing massive financial losses for the short sellers and possibly bringing the entire system to its knees.
Personally, I think I'm optimistic. I'm super optimistic, both for my GameStop holdings as well as for the market in general and the future of I think that we're all on a good path. But do your own research and come to your own conclusions.
This beer is for Keith, by the way. Because I know he...
Shout out, Keith. Keith
Yeah,
is the
there you
man.
go.
Keith is so the man.
All right. How do I feel about that? eh, eh. I mean, the hype obviously is there for sure, but is it going to be, lots of, I'm sure people will sell. Come on, they'll be crazy, right? Not to. But if you get $5,000 a share, right? Yeah, I mean, $1,000 a share, right? Um, that's my price target. Nah, I think on the roundup for sure. I'm gonna trim some of my position, but again, I also will try to buy it back in when it's all said and done. Obviously, the spike is what I'm looking for. But if it doesn't happen and it happens based on the fundamental, then it's also a good. To me, it's a win-win. Right? I'm here for the fundamental, but if if the spike happens indeed, because of these financial structure that we've been kind of dealt with here, then yeah, it's an opportunity of a lifetime for sure. But it's still an opportunity of the lifetime because you're actually buying at a bare bottom here. If you take into account MicroStrategy and all that stuff still in place, where there's been a post over here that I kind of agree with because remember when I say safety net of a lifetime of any company that you could possibly have? It's built in the stock in and of itself. The risk, in my opinion, is very, very low for this company. I know there's a lot of contrarian thoughts and beliefs and whatever, but based on what I'm seeing, I don't think the company is going bankrupt anytime soon. And with the economic calamity that is happening right now, we have cash. Now we have Bitcoin. Okay. Remain to be seen. Not quite sure how many Bitcoin he bought, but of course, there's been speculated that he put $1.5 billion already into Bitcoin. Because again, that's what the zero interest rate was all about. The convertible notes. Excuse me. Convertible bond. There you go. Was all about. And it would be crazy for him not to buy into GameStop GameStop. Into Bitcoin because then, people might hate Bitcoiners, probably like, hating on the stock if indeed he doesn't use it for Bitcoin. So now we have, okay, hold on, you guys, give me, oh shoot, I don't have the, anyway, I'm just going to use my mouse. I forgot to set up my drawing pad. Anyway, so now that we have Bitcoin, right, it's almost like a safety net of, okay, if the market goes up, because of the dollar coming down, typically when the dollar comes down, what happened? Bitcoin goes up, right? Asset class and asset, anything that is risk asset, thought of as a risk asset, it goes up. And of course, if Bitcoin goes up, the stock in and of itself would go higher, and we could offer more marketable bonds to do that. Convertible bond to raise more money, even like snowball, right? Wait. Why am I not reading this right? So if they short Bitcoin, whoever wants to short Bitcoin, it's the dumbest thing that you could do. Yes, you might temporarily make something, but inevitably you have to close your position. Bitcoin is a different thing. It's like any people who've been shorting Bitcoin would tell you the toughest thing to do, because you never know the spike. If it goes against your position, right, the spike will blow you out of your position so quickly, because sometimes it goes up 5, 6, 7% in a day. And unless you study the cycle of Bitcoin, and know exactly what you're doing, shorting it is not the smart thing to do. Okay, because it's trading on chain. It's typically very visible to anyone who want to take advantage of the shorts, so they don't do that. Okay. Yes, there are dumb people who want to, who thinks that they're an expert, and they do it. And so, yeah, just be cautious. And so this is the safety net for shorters in terms of the asset class of itself. Not to say that Bitcoin doesn't crash, the Bitcoin doesn't, drop down in price. No, but over time, it holds its value. Okay, for whatever property that you have, been learning about. So yeah, just learn about it, and you understand why. There's a lot of mechanics, economics, and all that stuff that will work for Bitcoin. That's why it's so big, right? It's been try and test and true for quite some time. Of course, there's always a fear, right? Well, we don't know who owned Bitcoins, right? That's always a fear. But now you have trillions and trillions of dollars locked in it already. So I hardly think that it's a matter of, the opportunity to make money now, right? So when you have the opportunity to make money for Wall Street, of course they're going to come for it, for sure. That's why they've been, setting up like Fidelity and all that stuff now, commission, free trade, and now offering Bitcoin to retirees and all that stuff. So it's coming for sure. It's going to be scary for them, but they see the opportunity to make money here. So they will promote it. They will put it on their balance sheets. And that's the genius of this, right? So now when you have Bitcoin, you have the safety of, I guess an exposure to growth a little bit here based on the asset that we have. So if the market goes up, we get to benefit from here. If the market goes from here, as well as equity as well. So GME goes up too. Okay. Now, if the market comes down, where the Fed raised the rate, okay, when the Fed keeps the rate high still, because it seems like he's trying to go against Trump, right? Rate high, we got marketable security, right? Earning, 4%, whatever, right? 4.5%. If they slash the rate, market short squeeze. So that's the safety net that we have for sure, right? Now, it's not that short squeeze. It just means that if the Fed lower the rate, what happened to the stock usually? It goes up, right? Because no longer that the marketable security will give you 4%, it's going to be 0%. Nobody would lend money out at 0% unless they see the upside. Okay. So technically, if the Fed lower the rate to close to 0, more money will flock into the market, equity market. What market? Usually, again, higher risk stock out there because they want that return, right? And yeah, so the wall of money will come either way. Okay, it's a matter of time. If the Fed lower the rate, good for us. Like it's a plus, triple plus. Okay. If the Fed lower still keep the rate the same, we are okay. Still a plus, but not too much plus, right? But we're not going down in terms of balance sheets wise, right? Strong balance sheet for sure. You cannot defeat this at all. It's inevitable for sure. That's why I feel like there's no risk in this stock whatsoever. Company. I have to separate the two. Company is different from the stock. Okay. And then and even if they raise it to 5, right, just because of the inflation, because that's the narrative that the Fed was speaking about yesterday, that, due to tariffs, we don't know if the inflation is going to be up or down or whatever, although he's an expert, right? How do you not know that inflation is going to be down or up, right? I thought the Fed is there to tell us when to keep the market going. I'm telling you, these people don't really care about Main Street. Like, for decades on end, they've been printing money. They've been, letting inflation go rampant, and then on top of that, kind of like giving you nothing, right? Lies and giving a lot of deception on why inflation was high. Remember, they used to blame it on Ukraine war, supply short, short, so it's a supply shortage or something like that. But all of it is designed, you guys, because if you close the economy for 2 years straight, of course, nobody's going to be able to move or anything like that. So, it was for sure to cover up something. Perhaps, again, they couldn't reconcile, the fact that they're over leveraging the balance sheets. Every company was like zero. Like, they don't create any value for the public. Even the top 7 company, right? What kind of value did you create? Nothing. It seems very forced. Anytime it's like shrouded in, well, we have billions of dollars to expand, right? We spend and spend and spend at the expense of companies' asset. And so when the economy is not doing well, every company, even though they're like hundreds of years old, still will have to close down, go bankrupt, because they cannot support the debt anymore. And it's by design, for sure. Moran's talked about that, so you guys know. Crazy, huh? And then they wonder why the economy is so bad. Because companies out there are hijacked by terrible management, terrible CEOs, terrible executives, and the public just has no clue. Zero clue. Anyway, sorry. China will get a Japanese level of inflation in history if they don't play ball with US. Okay. Well, I mean, what Trump's won, obviously, is for them to drop the tariffs on everyone. But again, it's just a negotiation tactic. So, in my opinion, he's doing the right thing. But, of course, what do I know? I don't study economic. I'm not the economist, Only reason why Bitcoin has value is because of Tether. That's not true. Really? But Tether is known to be used to transfer dirty money, and once it's regulated, Tether will fall with Bitcoin. Okay. We'll hold you to that, Benito. Yes. I disagree with that. Value of Bitcoin comes from, how much do you think Tether has in Bitcoin? If you think that it derived from Tether, as a organization, financial audit and all that stuff, but they could still do transaction on chain, even if it's regulated and all that stuff. They might not, unless Tether is pegged, the trading pairs of Tether, Tether goes down, Bitcoin goes down? How does that work? And how much does Tether has in Bitcoin for it to crash? And are you saying that Tether print money to buy Bitcoin? Or print Tether to buy Bitcoin? On what basis? I thought Tether print money to buy US Treasury and maybe some Bitcoin as their asset to back up their reserves and all that stuff, So it's been used for sure. Yes, it's very profitable for them, but it's all around the world. People use Tether all the time to convert to, from Bitcoin to dollar. So they will solve, like, Benito, if a business is profitable and now stablecoin is going to be, the forefront of the legislation now, I'm sure they're just going to pay fines, okay? Whatever dirty money that you're thinking of, it's going to be washed as long as you, pay to play type thing, right? And so there's always a way, right? There's a will, there's a way. And when they become regulated, yes, there's some truth's gonna come out. But just like how people were saying, well, if FTX was coming down, then Bitcoin would have come down with it as well. It's the end of Bitcoin. It's always the end of Bitcoin, right? Anytime that you're supposed to be buying. The price will fluctuate because people are fearful. Michael Saylor actually had a good point for that. I mean, price will temporarily come down, but to say that it's the end of Bitcoin, it's not a good assessment at all. People have been predicting the demise of Bitcoin for 20 years. So, it's going to zero. It's even till this day, people are like, oh, it's going to zero. It's going to zero. But it never did. So, I don't know. Maybe one of these days when you find out who make Bitcoin, then people will freak out. But until then, I don't think. Oh, this is cool. Wow. I want one. I think it's just a concept, but that's crazy. Anyway, Michael Saylor, I think. This is an important point for sure. Let's see. I think he responded to Portnoy. He has responded to Ryan Cohen as well. I can't wait for my $10,000 made in US iPhone. Well, I don't buy iPhones, so I don't care about the price. Imagine how much jobs is being created with that. You're going to love your $1 million made in US Bitcoin. That's true. Okay, today's market react to tariffs is a reminder. Inflation is just the tip of the iceberg. Capital faces dilution from taxes, regulation, competition. I don't know what this word is. You saw it. And unforeseen event. Okay. There you go. So Bitcoin offer resilient in a world of full hidden risk. I like that. There's one more. Oh, right here. So he said, I have a dumb Bitcoin and crypto question. If the point of crypto, of Bitcoin is to be independent of the US dollar and non-regulated, why does it basically trade exactly like the US stock market nowadays. Market up, Bitcoin up. Market down, Bitcoin down. Okay. So Bitcoin trades like a risk asset, which is true. Yeah, because people are available. Yeah, let me read it. Risk asset short term because it is the most liquid sellability. I think that is what I mean. Sellable. I think that's what he's trying to say. Sellable 24 hours, 24/7 asset on Earth. So it's available, most liquid, most used, most traded. Okay. In times of panic, traders sells what they can. Okay, not what they want to. Does that mean it is a correlated long asset? It doesn't mean it's correlated long term. Just means it's always available. I think that's a good assessment, because if you measure Bitcoin price, to SPY or whatever, it's outperformed for the last 20 years. Don't believe me? Don't believe me? SPY. That's the whole market. Okay. Measure in Bitcoin. I know it's not fair, right? Because Bitcoin is a high growth. the highest growth. Like, how can you contest that this asset class is nothing but? And again, this is just the testament of new technology being adopted and the realization of how much money has been printed in the last 20 years. Okay? If you measure on the buying power of a dollar, okay, let's look at that. Buying power of dollar over 25 years. Value of dollar over time. Okay, let's see. What is this telling me? Oh, I hate this. Okay, come back. Purchasing power over time. There we go. I mean, classic, right? So in the last 20 years over here, 2000, like from here to here, I wonder what's the measurement is though. But I'm betting you anything, 20 years ago, $1 could buy you a lot. Okay, $1 could buy you a lot. But yeah, dollars back in the Great Depression time, right here, even when it was falling like this, you still are more valuable than it is today. Look, Great Depression. This is where the Great Depression was. Okay? So that's why, again, if you peg this to the stock market, the SPY actually flat for the last freaking 100 years. For the last 100 years. The SPY don't give you anything, right? Well, depends on where. Again, that's why it depends on where you got in, right? You got in at the bottom, of course you're going to get some. But in actuality, let's say you have a grandfather who bought, S&P 500 at that time, $1. In today's time, you're going to still get $1 in equivalent of $15, sorry. You might get $15, right? But $1 at the time, you probably could buy more than the $15 today. So that's how I read this, okay? Maybe you get $20. And, again, that's a perspective, right? So with the new asset class, obviously. But anyway, sorry. Benito over here hating on Bitcoin for no apparent reason. I don't know. Again, I could be wrong, right? I'm not an expert on it. Technically savvy, but I'm not like programmable savvy. So it's up to the programmers out there who's been hacking into the system for decades. You think that with this amount of money, people would not try to make new Bitcoin on the chain? Of course, people are trying. And on top of that, you have, top hacker in the world out there who would want to create a name for themselves. They want to be famous. I am the one who cracked Bitcoin, right? And so till this day, you don't see them yet, right? Till then, I don't know. Yes. So bring it on type thing. Because they know the market will crash and they will implement great. Okay. True. I mean, yes. You have to. There need to be a solution for accounting for shares that you own and all that stuff. So blockchain perhaps was created to solve the problem that we have right now of ownership, like real ownership, and able to track, who owns what type thing. So there you go. It's a ledger. It's a piece of ledger technology that you could, 50 years from now, you could say, okay, so-and-so have this many Bitcoin. So-and-so have this many Bitcoin, right? And it would always accounted for that. So, and you could go back and look at it. And so bad actors who claim to have hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin cannot fool anyone. Okay? Because eventually somebody will find it on chain. It's like, hey, based on an on-chain analysis, this person don't have anything, right? And they claim that they have. This is what happened to FTX, by the way, right? The SEC didn't find them out. No, it was the internet. It was Twitter, who was on chain and make an analysis on chain to see who has what. And at the time, FTX didn't have the Bitcoin that they claimed to have. So that's the use case of Bitcoin per se, or the types that I guess one use case that you could draw to, so that hey, at least it's accounted for. You could look it up anytime and all that stuff. So transparency for sure. But again, there's different problems that might arise with that too. You don't want to be like, oh, so-and-so has, Bitcoin, this many Bitcoin. So, but again, there's a lot of solution in trying to prevent hackers from hacking into your wallet and all that stuff. So they could hack into your wallet by, trying to trick you to give them a seed phrase and all that stuff. So be careful, when people are claiming to be somebody, be skeptical. If they want you to send Bitcoin or some digital asset to you, be wary of that. Unless you know them personally and they ask you personally to send and you're okay with sending them that, then just be careful. Don't send it unless you know them. And don't ever give your seed phrase away either. So, because that's the key to your wallet. Okay. Yes, they use Tether to transfer Bitcoin. Okay, but Bitcoin is not stable like XRP. Every time tariffs get announced, crypto goes down. Yes, but Bitcoin loses thousands while losing cents. Come on, like thousands, but if you look at the percentage, right, it's different. 1 cent. I mean, again, it's comparable to the time. It depends on which time frame you're looking in. The reason why XRP have a good narrative, I'm not denying that. We have a good narrative right now. And for XRP, yes, potentially this time around, it will outperform Bitcoin. But to say that Bitcoin has no value is not a good assessment either, because it does. It's math. Like, read the white paper. You see this. This is the history of price history. I'm not saying it won't come down here because of fear, because of whatever, because there was a time. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I could zoom in. Here. Wait, no. There you go. What? Crazy, huh? Okay, so there was a time in which, yes, it did fall below this blue ribbon. But any time in history in which it below through this through this ribbon, the blue one, it goes back up, right? So again, I feel like Ryan Cohen probably watched my show because I showed this. Hey, we're in the blue zone, okay? Blue zone. We're good, right? And then what did he tweet? Let me see. Remember the tweet, you guys? Look at this. These tariffs are turning me into a dem. What is dem? Democrats, right? What is the color for Democrats? Blue. Yeah, and then a rainbow. I'm telling you, I think he's watching my show. Yeah. So I was showing this blue ribbon before that. And so again, yeah, I mean, maybe that's a clue too, that he's saying like, hey, this is the perfect time to buy into Bitcoin. I mean, is there any other asset class that you could do this chart? So, like this? Not really. But based on the historical price action, it seems like, yes, this is the perfect time. If it below this ribbon over here, then the price probably would be less than 80,000. Possible, right? But it doesn't like to stay below this for long, right? Might be long for you if you hold it over here, from here. So the point is, as long as you hold Bitcoin for a long term, for at least 4 years, okay, for at least 4 years, you can for sure be in positive. Okay. Like I said many times, if you are the least lucky person in the whole world, that every time you buy at the top right here, top, you're still up ahead at this price point, right? But you have to hold for the next for at least 4 to 5 years here, and the reason why 5 years worth of convertible note is being placed, I think that's the reason. It's because, okay, in 5 years, you'll be up. You'll be sure to be up if you buy Bitcoin. Right? Okay. There you go. Okay. Okay. All right. Because Bitcoin is not regulated or audited. Bitcoin is not regulated. Bank going to invest. Are you okay? They just got a go at the SEC even before this, with the hostility of crypto in general. They gave a green light to Bitcoin. And how can you say that it's not regulated? I have to pay tax on my Bitcoin holding. If I sell it, it's being treated as a property. So capital gains and all that stuff still being treated. So technically it was already regulated. There's no CEO to go after. There's no one country issuance of Bitcoin. So, and to say that it's not audited, you could audit it yourself. It's on chain. right? It's a piece of ledger that you could see the transaction from the Genesis block. Every transaction that ever been transact on Bitcoin, you could go back and check that that transaction exists. So nobody has to audit it. It audited themselves. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. And it's publicly available, so you could check it to see. Yeah. So if criminal were to use it, it's trackable. Okay, it's the dumbest thing you could do. And bank won't use it? Well, they just eliminate a is it a clause or a rule or something that allow banks to hold Bitcoin as an asset class. The reason why banks didn't do it before, it's not because of the regulation. It was because that, yes, you can hold Bitcoin, but you have to place it as a liability on your balance sheet. That's simply what it was. And no bank would be dumb enough to do that because they don't like that. You know, they want more asset rather than liability, because then it's bad for their stock. Okay, if you have more liability than asset, and why would Bitcoin has to be reported as a liability? Well, because they thought it is a very volatile asset, and you know, you never know what you're gonna get. And so think about it. If they have to do that, what if Bitcoin goes down in 50%? Then their asset versus liability is going to be worse off than they were before. And so no CEO, bank CEO would want that. That's why they were demonizing it, you know, so much. And oops, sorry. Yeah. Now that rule is not there anymore. In fact, now bank could hold Bitcoin, okay, on their balance sheets as an asset class. So that's why now you see Fidelity offering it. Now JP Morgan is coming. Don't worry about it. Yes, they were poo-pooing it before. But now you're going to see Jamie Dimon coming out and say, well, I was wrong. I'm sorry. But behind closed door, he already accumulating it. Don't worry. Again, they do this all the time, you guys. I'm telling you. Watch what they do, not what they say. Okay? I don't know. I don't know where you get your information from, Benito. I know you love XRP. I do too. I get it. But you know, even Brad Garlinghouse is bullish on Bitcoin as well. Right? You know, I don't think he ever sold his Bitcoin. He sold XRP though, personally. So, yeah. Although, and again, XRP has its own use case, utility, and all that stuff, but still, you don't see the utility yet being played out because nobody actually built on the blockchain yet, that ledger. I actually, hold on, you guys. I've been tracking the burn rate for XRP. And it's not by much, you guys. Like, I thought it was a lot more than that, because, you know, the burn rate at its current state, I'm not happy with. So let me show you that real quick. Oops, 1 second. Oh, shoot. Hold on. What's it? Got the wrong number. This one here. All right. Okay. So far, ever since that RLUSD was implemented, okay, RLUSD just means real stablecoin that Ripple as the company issued, okay. Yes, it's thought to be the leader of stablecoin, and it's going to become one of the leader, right? Because people are going to be trusting it more. And this is why there's a narrative around Tether as being, whatever. But Tether has been around for so long. So not quite sure why there's this, narrative that goes off that, oh, it's a, money laundering and all that stuff. So there might be some other reason, but again, I don't follow it, so I don't know how to even address that. But as far as like being able to be traded among the whole world, Tether has been around for 20 years. But perhaps again, there's competition for sure now with XRP and the RLUSD over here that claim to use XRP as a supply, right? Currently, it's been growing pretty well. I mean, lots of stablecoin has been issued through Ripple as a company, okay, that has XRP as its, underlining asset in order to facilitate cross-border payment, okay? And they've been minting. I've been kind of following like the growth of it. It used to be 70 million. Now it's up to close to 300 million. Yeah, it's remained to be seen. Tether is like in the billion, tens of billions. So the RLUSD has a lot to go. Okay. Now I have a chart here. So I was tracking the burn rate for XRP up until this day. So this is just a representation of how much XRP is burned every day. This is every day. Yeah. So it's been burned on average 5,000 coins a day. Okay. So 5,000 coins a day. And how much coins do they have? 100 billion. Close, right? And so with that rate, it will take 51,000 years. Okay? So the rate has to be higher. Now, if it's higher like this, of course, again, depends, right? On how many people are going to use it. So that's why I'm tracking it this way, is to see how many years it would take to burn the whole supply. Obviously, we don't want to burn the whole supply, but so it's slightly deflationary, but not very significant in any way based on the human, year, right? You only live up to 100 years. You'll be lucky to, live more than that, but the majority of us probably be dead by then. Okay, so you won't be able to benefit from the deflationary function of XRP here. But yeah, if they could ramp up the use case and the real usability of the token in and of itself, you could really see the burn rate a lot higher. Okay, the first 3 days in which they were launching the RLUSD, you could see, on average, they did burn quite a bit more, but it's been a slowdown for whatever reason. Again, perhaps there is a kind of tidal wave coming after this because they're just waiting on the regulation, right? The lawsuit is done. There's no there's no restriction on XRP as a an asset class anymore. There's no contest on that. It is not a security, so that's the clear. It's it's clear now that they are not security, so there's no threat in you owning XRP right now and trade it among ourselves here. Now, whether people are going to use the chain for whatever reason, that's remain to be seen. Up to the developer out there. You could do that. Yeah, just like ETH, it takes some time for the developer to create, product on the, ETH ecosystem. They just had so much backing back then on VC and all that stuff that they were able to make it sound like, oh, Ethereum is needed. It's all that stuff. It's all media blitz, you guys, because the people up top, the SEC and all that stuff. There's a reason why Bill Hinman, was the SEC at the time, give a green light to ETH rather than XRP. Okay. And it was a scandal. It should have been a scandal because then you're picking and choosing loser or winner. And the SEC was not supposed to be doing that, right? That's a scandal. And nobody talked about it back then. It's like nobody screamed, market unfairness, right? Right? So, but when GME is about to win, about to go up in price, oh, market manipulation. Okay, all right. Again, hypocrisy, right? The hypocrisy in this world screams louder, per se. Okay, let me have you stare at this dollar diminishing in value. Okay, Bitcoin trades because of human psychology. Of course, that too. And economic, for sure, It takes me a while to understand it, and I wish I understood it the way that I understand it today. It's an ongoing thing for sure. It's a necessity for humanity to store value. But until people realize that we've been screwed, again, because of this, look. The government keeps printing money to support whatever, war, whatever, right? Endless war. For the last, ever since Kennedy, right? You never see any peace talk. Yes, there's talks about keeping peace on Earth, but there's always seemed to be bomb dropping somewhere around the world. Have you ever wondered that? And then people wonder why your dollar keep going down in value for so long. No idea. Okay, so Hershey back then cost $26. What? That's crazy. Anyway, sorry. There's a reason elite and the banks are buying offline. Why you think they are hyping up Bitcoin? Oh, okay. So XRP is like part of the elites now. Bitcoin is like, for the regular peasant like us, huh? For the same reason why they would hype XRP later on. Remember, yes, they're about to dump Bitcoin, but not because it's not valuable. No. They're about to dump Bitcoin because they already in profit. The reason why they're accumulating XRP is because it's slow enough. And so eventually they're going to pump XRP to you. Okay? It's about timing. That's all. Has nothing to do with these two are still, the asset class to behold for sure. But the asset class that they want to sell it to the public, yes, at a high price. It's competing for sure. Yes, I know. But yeah, over time, the mass will win out for sure. Hopefully people are more smarter. Hopefully people are smarter and understand the game that is being played. It's the same way why they wouldn't speak positively about GME, right? Psychology. They want to fake you out. Do you think nobody's buying GME right now? Right? Again, it's just a fake out. That's all. The same way why they are hyping, why do you think they bring up the whole tether thing in attachment to Bitcoin? They want you to dump Bitcoin and buy XRP, right? When you should have been holding both. So anyway, just my thought. I might be wrong though. I used to get cigarette out of the machine for $1 when I was 12. Wow. That's crazy. Like a pack? Bitcoin only up because of the hype. All right, cool. Okay, cool. I get my information from Common Sense Crypto channel. Listen to him and you will change your mind 100%. Okay. I think I've watched him before. But again, I form my own, thesis and all that stuff. I do appreciate your point of view, though. Don't get me wrong. It's just that, sometimes I'm like overthinking things sometimes. And I'm like, what tends to happen is that when I follow people, I tend to not know what I'm all about, my own self. I follow people into Bitcoin, right? Because people were trading it. It's like, okay, what is Bitcoin? I didn't understand it when I was in it before. And so had I understood it, I wouldn't sell it ever. Because I would understand the value proposition of it. Believe me, within the last 10 years, okay, I've heard it all about Bitcoin, how Bitcoin is no value, it's magic, internet money, don't touch it, all of that, right? And so if you believe in that narrative, obviously you're going to kind of make the wrong decision, even though you should be holding it for long. And I regret it. I regret selling it for sure. Because now it's going to be harder for me to own the same amount of Bitcoin that I used to have. And it's going to be becoming even more scarce, more, whatever, dollar denomination. Unless they could find a way to increase the value of the dollar much quicker than the value of Bitcoin, then yes, I agree. Bitcoin's going to crash. But how possible is that, you think? Right? If you could figure out how to increase the purchasing power of $1, and make it grow faster than Bitcoin, yeah, I agree with you. But I don't think it's possible. How? One way to do it is to peg it to something stable and to grow so much more. It's like, 10 times a year. you have to 10x GDP over here, right? It's impossible. Nah, you can't do it. What's a good amount of XRP to hold? Is it 51? I don't know. I don't know. I hold enough. I feel like I'm pretty heavy though. I'm pretty risky on it though. Um so the same way I have high conviction in GME, I have high conviction in everything that I own. Back then I was high conviction in Ethereum. You know? Now it just so happened to be XRP because I think it has the narrative to bring it up and outperform Bitcoin. But that's about it. So it depends on the cycle. Right now you have regulations coming out. Paul Atkin is coming in. Great. I mean, what else do you want for crypto market? And if Bitcoin doing worse, you think XRP is gonna do well as well? No, it trades the same way. Excuse me. There's a bomb over back. Oh my gosh. Really? What is good? What? Oh man, what the hell? Ricky. We don't want that. We don't want that for anyone. So I pray for those people. You make it a digital dollar. Okay, cool. Yeah, sure. High demand, but again, that digital dollar don't get you anywhere anyway. One digital dollar could still be subject to the inflation on the Federal Reserve, right? Balance sheets and all that stuff. You create demands for dollar, yes. So it makes it doesn't make dollars stronger in terms of dollars 10 years ago. It make dollars stronger in terms of rupee, in terms of, other yen, in terms of other local government fiat, in terms of, euro. So in comparison to other country, yes, high demand for dollar is good for dollar at the present time, but not in the past, in relation in the past. So you're still running the same problem. And make it back by gold and silver. Sure, yes. Even then, it doesn't increase the value of the dollar. It will stabilize it, yes. It will stabilize it for sure. But not gonna increase the value of the dollar. So, Bitcoin still up top. You know what would be the right answer? Would be the Federal Reserve. You need to get rid of them. But problem might be too big for people to even understand the ramification for that. Because what you think you own is not valuable at all. It's a debt to somebody. Somebody's debt is somebody's income. And so, yeah, that's why, again, gold, physical, Bitcoin is so important, because at least if you own Bitcoin, right? However much you could sell it for, that's remained to be seen. But over time, I'm sure one Bitcoin is going to be more valuable than it is today. Because guess what? There's only 21 million Bitcoin around. Scarcity is a thing. Okay. So if you want to make something valuable, you make it scarce. Whether through force, whether through, economic policy, through tariffs and all that stuff. Yeah, that's true. Anywho, I feel like I'm pooped out, you guys. I've been here for long. I mean, how long have I been here? Let's see. Did I miss anything? Made in US. There you go. um, but people freak out for no apparent reason sometimes, you guys. So that's usually what the psychology of price action is. As far as like this one as well, 10 minutes long. But okay, let me go and warm my coffee real quick. I'm gonna leave you with Marco Rubio over here, okay, explaining what's going on
The
here.
impact on Europeans. You want them to spend more on defense,
Yes.
which they're agreeing to finally. But how can they do that when their economies are crashing and they are now
No,
afraid to-
no. Their economies are not crashing. The markets are reacting. No, their economies are not crashing. Their markets are reacting to a dramatic change in the global order in terms of trade. And so what happens is pretty straightforward. If you're a company and you make a bunch of your products in China, and all of a sudden shareholders or people that play the stock market realize that it's going to cost a lot more to produce in China, your stock is going to go down. But ultimately, the markets, as long as they know what the rules are going to be moving forward, and as long as that's set and you can sustain where you're going to be, the markets will adjust. Businesses around the world, including in trade and global trade, they just need to know what the rules are. Once they know what the rules are, they will adjust to those rules. So I don't think it's fair to say economies are crashing. Markets are crashing because markets are based on the stock value of companies who today are embedded in modes of production that are bad for the United States. We have to be a country that thinks we're the largest consumer market in the world, and yet the only thing we export is services. And we need to stop that. We need to get back to a time where we're a country that can make things, and to do that, we have to reset the global order of trade.
The other part of my question.
Well, the worst thing is to leave it the way it is forever. I mean, this just can't continue. We can't continue to be a country that doesn't make things. We have to be able to make things to provide jobs for Americans. That's it. It's that simple. China is an example. I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, they don't consume anything. All they do is export and flood and distort markets in addition to all the tariffs and barriers they put in place. So the president rightly has concluded that the current status of global trade is bad for America and good for a bunch of other people, and he's going to reset it, and he's absolutely right to do
Let me
it.
ask you about also the predictability of relationships with allies. The Prime Minister of Greenland, the Prime Minister of Denmark, which at this point owns Greenland, so Denmark, a NATO ally, is saying that it's unacceptable that one country cannot annex another country.
Well, no one's annexed anything. It's going to be up to Greenlanders. The vice president made that clear. He's going to respect the self-determination of Greenlanders. So at some point, the Greenlanders have made clear that they want to be independent of Denmark. So that's Denmark should focus on the fact that the Greenlanders don't want to be a part of Denmark. That's what they should focus on. We didn't give them that idea. They've been talking about that for a long time. Whenever they make that decision, they'll make that decision. And then what we're not going to do is let China come in now and say, offer them a bunch of money and become, dependent on China.
The president said he would not rule out using military force against Denmark, a NATO ally.
No, he said he would not rule out. No. He said he would not rule out. He said, I'm not going to rule out anything if Greenland is encroached upon by a foreign power like a China or Russia or anybody else. But it doesn't matter because Greenlanders are going to make a decision. They're the ones that want to get away from Denmark. They're the ones that want to be independent. Not us. We didn't come up with that idea. They did. And if they make that decision, then the United States would stand ready, potentially, to step in and say, okay, we can create a partnership with you. We're not at that stage. But that's what the vice president made clear last week in his visit there. His statement was very abundantly clear. He said, we will respect the self-determination of the people of Greenland. People of Greenland. And they're the ones that want to leave Denmark. That wasn't our idea.
All right, well, second question here. Missy from Washington Post.
Mr. Secretary, I'd like to ask you about the Russia-Ukraine negotiations. Can you give us tell us about the American assessment of the conditions that Russia put forward regarding the Black Sea ceasefire talks? And also, the British and French foreign ministers said this morning that Putin was dragging his feet. Do you agree with that?
Maybe. I mean, he might be. We don't know yet. We're going to find out fairly soon. I mean, look, here's what the president wanted to do. He wants to end this war, and he wanted to test it very early in his administration. Is it possible to end this war on terms that are acceptable, obviously, to both sides? Because you can't end a war unless both sides agree. And that's what we're in the process of finding out. We will know soon enough, in a matter of weeks, not months, whether Russia is serious about peace or not. I hope they are. It would be good for the world if that war ended. But obviously, we have to test that proposition. So we're working through that process. We had a visitor, Mr. Kirill was here this week. Had a chance to sit down with him. He met with others. He'll take some messages back. And the message is the United States needs to know whether you're serious or not about peace. Ultimately, Putin will have to make that decision. The Russian Federation will have to make that decision. I think the Ukrainians have shown a willingness to enter, for example, into a complete ceasefire to create space for negotiation. At some point here fairly soon, not 6 months from now, the Russians and Putin will have to make a decision about whether they're serious for peace or not, and I hope they are serious. So it would be good for the world if that war ended.
What is your assessment of the Russian conditions that were put forward? And also, Dmitriev said, following his talks with Mr. Witkoff yesterday, that the U.S. and Russia might resume direct flights as maybe a confidence-building measure. Do you support that? So that
I haven't heard anything about direct flights. I can tell you, but I don't know who's going to fly in it because all these people are sanctioned. But I would just tell you that the thing I would point to you is this. We're going to wait and see. The Russians know our position in terms of wanting to end the war, and we will know from their answers very soon whether they are serious about proceeding with real peace or whether this is a delay tactic. It's a delay tactic. The president's not interested in that. If this is dragging things out, President Trump's not going to fall into the trap of endless negotiations about negotiations. We will know soon enough whether or not Russia's serious about peace. If they are, that'll be great. Then we can move towards peace. If they're not, then we'll have to reevaluate where we stand and what we do moving forward about it. But we'll be in no different a position than we are today, or we were when he took office. He wanted to know early in his administration, is peace possible? And we're testing to see if the Russians are interested in peace. Their actions, not their words, their actions will determine whether they're serious or not. And we intend to find that out sooner rather than later.
And what about their conditions?
Which conditions?
They put forward additional conditions after you said the Black Sea.
Yeah, so again, I mean, this is part of the back and forth of these sorts of things. I've had phone calls with foreign leaders, and then I read the readout, and it's like, oh, we said, no, you never... They came, they said something to me they never said. I guess that's part of the game in this place or whatever. But look, bottom line is, to me, at the end of the day, what's going to matter here is whether we're going to move towards peace or not. If peace is real, we will know soon enough. If they're not interested in peace, we will know soon enough. And we'll make decisions on the basis. I hope they are real. There are some promising signs, there are some troubling signs. It's not going to be easy. No one ever said this would be easy. But we're going to find out sooner rather than later. And let's just say I'm hopeful. I remain hopeful. I need to be hopeful that peace is possible and that the Russians are serious about peace. We want them to be serious about peace. And hopefully they are. But we'll know sooner rather than later.
Cool. Sorry about that. I didn't get half of it, so I hope you enjoy that. Okay. Okay, a pact of secret. I was reading that okay. 1984. Goodness. Yeah, I wasn't born yet, so let's see. Back then, I think my brother born. Yeah, my brother. Just a heads up, I'm going. Hallelujah. Boom, 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 boom. All right, you got it here first. Moran's gonna be on. Let's go. Thank you so much. You saved my life just now. I was like, what am I gonna talk about now? Okay. All right, I'm gonna end here. Are you going out right now or what? Like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes? Okay, I'm gonna end it here. And yeah, let's go on my rants. Thank you, all of you, for joining in, listening to me rambling on and on about nothing at all. But I hope you learned something. Okay? All right, see you when I see you. Bye. Oh, wow. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate that.